He said that you were saying that she was the same.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
And we are ready to proceed.
So ready, Your Honor.
All right, very good. You can call you first.
Thank you, Your Honor. I called John Durant and just for the record, I had a brief conversation with the defense counsel. My understanding he's willing to stipulate this for the jury. The one time doing this, usually that now by testimony.
Your Honor, for example, you would stipulate what?
Quick legal translation. When attorneys stipulate to evidence, they're agreeing it's authentic, so the court doesn't waste time proving it. That doesn't mean the defense agrees with what it proves, just that it's real. This is efficiency, not surrender.
Correct.
I will admit it to take Mark at once. I'm sorry. Sir, please come forward to be sworn. It's pronounced Doran. You may go on.
Thank you. Good afternoon. How are you doing? Sir, where do you live? Is that here in Westmont County? Did you live at that address on September 2025? I want to draw your attention to that date. Did anything happen that day that led you to call 911? What happened that caused you to call 911? I want to pause you really quickly. So you have cameras. What sort of cameras do you have? Can you describe to the court what that is?
Yeah, go ahead.
Who has access to? I'll phrase it this way. Do those cameras record, or do they just touch? Who has access to those cameras? Does anyone else have access? Well, you said that you had watched him get a notification. What happened, or what was that notification? Were you able to see what caused that movement?
Yes.
What caused the movement? You said that you saw your son. Is your son in the courtroom today? Can you please point to him and identify him by an article of clothing that he's wearing? The record didn't reflect this witness, so they didn't.
The record shows so.
Quick legal translation. When attorneys stipulate to evidence, they're agreeing it's authentic, so the court doesn't waste time proving it. That doesn't mean the defense agrees with what it proves, just that it's real. This is efficiency, not surrender.
What?
How did your son enter the house? Does anyone else commonly come to your house and live with anyone else? Did you give your son permission to get into your house on September 6th?
No, I did not.
What did you see your son do at your house?
Well, was on the camera. Was the whole Doran Jr. Then I really go like journal. Yeah, he was going to the house
When you left your house last, were the house locked, unlocked?
What
was going on with the key and the lockbox?
The lockbox was something that I had and then was no problems and issues, and I secured them. My almost keep them from
What about the lockbox itself? Who owns that lockbox?
I do.
How much was that lockbox worth? Do you know?
Well, I got it from shit what kind of complications and police here. And I have the glasses still out there. I should glass. Company circle. Last country and proceeding. So we do a lot of work and I was going to secure my own microphone. Look because she's that's what I need for.
How much did it cost to get that new lock?
Actually, $185 and the glass is all like $25 extras all. Usually I get strong for $35.
Was there any property of yours inside the lockbox at the time that you saw the victim? Where was the lockbox located in the house?
Was just kind of type of it's all a lot of straight up right now. So one.
When you see a box, how big of a box?
For example, you have to buy it's not possible to use Washington without the sharing more firearms.
Still in that box in your home?
If you will.
And was that happened that same day that he was able to move the home or was it different?
Yeah, that's why that patient's all full to my phone. Now it's going to as well. You're ready and get out of the wall there. Now, and there's door on the track. You wish I was using that all out of order.
Aside from keeping this lockbox, what else did you pretend to do in your home?
Well, I got to now for as she's in my gym, which is whole gym. Yeah, like you said, these are in the government service. You all about, doing for that, session business. So, around, go to this and make, motorcycle for because of the, was a project one thing.
I want to make sure, did you say a motorcycle and park or motorcycle?
A motorcycle, it was in Steel, going back together.
And you said that you saw broken other damage. Were you able to observe what caused that damage?
As far as the damage goes, I don't see exactly what's going on. You damage slightly over how I could one thing that I can see that was down with the 404. I thought it was in sales. I should love to sell warranty network to go ahead and shout so to say you do that for something. See models for them.
How much were those cameras? How much did they cost in the car?
Really don't buy those so you don't have to pay something. $75 for since I'm tired of that. You really get in my system, so.
Can you provide the court with a list of what all was damaged in the house?
So I have found on your time that somebody wanted to go down and really want to see what's being used or this stuff. You found out so that I see my was damaged the motorcycle. And all those things. But, yeah.
Did you incur any expenses as a result of this incident?
So, I had a repeating front for it, so always very busy. If I have to go time on still work, and forward, but that's such a but that's what I apologize.
I believe I asked you to provide the court list or what all was damaged.
Yeah, like I said, you tell people all the time, like, maybe around $1,000.
The things that were destroyed.
Yeah. She was trying to put each other tell you that places when I walk in, use all our places. That's usually so that's just unfortunate because I time that install it. Yeah, you're right.
What is the retail value of this game?
Retail value? Yeah. I think that's something fun. So, $50.
And you said that you were watching all of this via your home camera. Is that correct? Does that camera system record?
My range was low, so it was
Can that system record while you watch it? Or is that something?
cameras on. You got PJs on the street. Once it went to a line, those extra. Now I have now I'm trying to line just show. Here's something I did on we're watching. We shot for it now. Yeah, counts. Yeah.
Did you watch any of the from that day?
We think the whole one. I know the reason it was into kind of YouTube for like after this stuff.
You were to see some of the footage, would you be able to recognize it? I'd like to for identification purposes remark of the proposed exhibit 1. And I have it paused with this. Sir, do you recognize what this video is or what this frame is?
Yeah, that's actually where I want to like I said, you know, if you see we also said she might go from for she have got all statements or out this
In this recording, is it a fair and accurate recording of what you observed as to what happened that day? I'm doing it with mark proposed exhibit 1.
The one is in the
Permission to publish?
yes.
And it's starting from the beginning, for the record, this is about a 5-second long.
Surveillance footage is powerful, but notice what it doesn't show. We see entry. We see movement. We don't see destruction. In court, what's missing can matter just as much as what's on screen. The prosecution still has to fill in those gaps.
Really quickly, just replay just like that optionality pausing. So I want you to pay attention or look down. There's an individual in the middle there, sort of bottom. Is that individual? And can you see it looks like there's something between his legs on the ground? Maybe you see what I'm indicating?
Yeah.
What is that?
You see some sort of the doorway of the house.
And did you see what the defendant was able to do that she was you referred to earlier with the lockbox machine?
The same is very overall, I itself, so that's serious, so that's what that's called.
You take me off. Thank you. And you said that you had been talking with your son on the phone while this was happening. Do you have any other communication with your son about this incident?
You have afterwards.
At any time did you ever talk with him about this? Do you ever exchange any text messages with the defendant? And I may approach the witness and those people who did too.
Yes.
I'm trying to mark
people.
Sir, do you know what these are?
Yeah.
Who are these text messages between, do you know? And the text messages that are outlined in gray, who sent those? And so the ones in green, are those yours?
Yeah.
Do you know when these text messages were sent? Simply drawing your attention to page 1 that says, I'll see you soon, I'm trying to get all my things. That, what does that mean to you?
So here's the result of the presentation. I was able to see or you understand. Yeah, you know, most of the time I was rocks. Yeah, I don't think so. Right. You is right. But he mentioned the goal on home. Execution on full notice. Yeah. Sure.
Do you remember what time of day the defendant entered your home?
I do not. He's living in Doran Jr.
What time do you work?
You're saying that the actual road is 570 road.
Do you remember if this happened before or after you left?
Yeah.
And when did you take your lunch break?
Alright. Yeah, that's what I got you.
Okay. A couple points throughout the text messages here. It looks like the defendant is referring to a box. Do you know what box that is? So it's the same one. Did you give the permission to take that lockbox?
No.
Air still lived at this house at the time that this offense occurred?
Yes.
One moment, please, Your Honor. That's the witness.
Shots examination.
Afternoon, Mr. Doran. My name's Alex Warren Green. I represent your son in this case. Mr. Doran, I want to confirm or clarify a couple of things from the direct examination. You have in your possession today the motorcycle and those safes or lockboxes, right?
He was arrested and brought charges. Only part of one. So he got off.
So, and I appreciate that. Mr. Doran, on this date, date of this incident, when the police arrived, you were wearing a uniform, right? And at this time, September 6th, 2025, were you retired from the Department of Corrections?
I have that history also. Our history also. History was in how we had shot. I was in the high station firearms.
You were wearing the uniform associated with your private security job, is that correct? Thank you. So, on the date of this incident, you were under the belief that my client entered your home using a key he had. Is that your recollection?
I don't know how. No, because I told him.
And you remember telling the police you think he may have used that key to enter the home? Because you had given him the key.
Yes, you can use it away. Or away from the border, April, my key.
And he had previously lived at this address. He was still receiving mail or still does receive mail at that address?
He received more mail first evening, because he's your rep, and I go to the post office. This was not
So after this incident, you asked for the redirect on the date of this incident. He was receiving mail at that home. Is that correct? Okay. And there's a bedroom maintained for him at that home, correct? There was a bedroom for him at that home? Fair to say he'd come in and out of that residence on a number of occasions throughout the years, right?
Right.
And at this time, you had his guns in your possession at that home, right? When did you get
In January. So that's 7-12. And,
during the time he was on a 72-hour hold, a psychiatric hold, and you took those guns from his residence? Is that correct? And you say you had permission, and you told the police this, right? And you didn't show the police that you had permission to have those guns, did you? So, okay, going to September 6th, when you were observing as you were not at home and you weren't at home any time that Zachary was at the residence, were you? And you called and you spoke to a state trooper prior to arriving, right?
Yes.
And they arrived before you arrived. Is that your recollection?
Before I did, yes.
When you got there, you were the first person to go inside the home.
So,
You remember going inside the home by yourself before any officers went inside. So you don't recall, or you're saying that you did not go inside of the residence for any officers entering the residence?
I went to the door. I said, yeah. He cared about that. I said, I'm going to go in and myself. It was
As a person who's worked in law enforcement before, you're familiar with the concept of kind of securing a scene,
right.
and doing a protective sweep of the scene, right? And you remember when the police asked you if they could do that, refusing to allow them to go inside for you to do a sweep?
What lady when I walked, one law enforcement, I seen the possible. Don't you want to see the dog? The one she was frankly, I don't know, only stay off.
So if a police officer were to say something to the contrary, they are not telling the truth. Is that correct? Mr. Doran, on your direct examination, we watched video from your home surveillance system. You'd agree that nowhere in that video you can see my client breaking or destroying property, right?
You can't, does not allow it, correct?
And you testified about some broken mirrors. Were there two or more of those broken mirrors?
It was.
I'm sorry, I'll clarify my question. Were there two of them, or were there
There was three. So,
three?
3 and 4 were built. They're all kind of still, as well.
You provided those to the police?
Makes it a lot of
You didn't provide the police any photos or video clips of the condition of that property prior to September 6th, did you?
What do I have? I was at that for. Right. We might want to how I team to work with all the stuff so I can figure it out how to use on my work out it usually other so part of the game.
And with respect to this motorcycle, you're aware that my client does mechanic work, right?
Yeah.
And the motorcycle was broken down into the disassembled state, right?
Yeah.
You testified that the motorcycle was broken down, it was disassembled on this, right?
The project was right.
And that bike is not seen in the video we watched under examination, is it?
But it was not when it was in the room. Like I said, when we found if you go to a line view, it's not recording, so you can go down what was going into the room. That's nothing.
People's Exhibit 2 was a series of text messages that you provided to the police as screenshots, right? You still have those in front of you? And, Your Honor, if I could have a moment to confirm.
Sorry. That's how it is.
Okay. So, Mr. Doran, generally speaking about those text messages, the gray is text messages received from Zachary, green is text messages sent by you, right? And the green ones are cut off in almost all occasions that a green message appears. It's cut off, right?
I'm sure I will use that time for later copy from these messages they received if there was not this action.
And you never provided, no one ever asked you to provide your phone for forensic extraction purposes, right?
No.
So you took these photos as still frame screenshots on your phone and just gave them to the police, right? So when a text message is cut off, that would be because of the way that you framed pictures. Is that fair to say?
You're waiting on your to jack your wrestling. Thank you for letting me know, congrats. You're on TV. Obviously, to be right now, you're built somewhere else you're going.
And you're testifying that you did do that. In this case, you provided the entire message to ensure that it's clear.
Until you 100%, but I'm pretty sure they got on. They're talking to you all the time.
And the prosecutor marked these, the ones you have in front of you, as people's 2, and then I believe there are small numbers 1, 2, 3 bottom. Is that how it may appear to you?
Yes.
So if you could go to page 3, which is people's small 3, you see the part where Zachary says key in the mailbox?
Yes.
These text messages were sent before Zachary entered the home, is that correct?
I am the deeper ones. So, yeah, I promise you it's fine. You agree to do actually,
And to be clear, the time is the time in the top left of each of these still frame photographs. That is the time displayed on your phone, not necessarily the time these texts were sent or received. Is that correct? Correct. Okay. The only time a date appears is on people's 2, 3, which is Wednesday, September 10th at 7:43 p.m. And so, on the 3rd page of people's exhibit 2, second picture on the bottom, there is a date and timestamp on that, right?
Yes.
Okay. But other than that, there are no dates and time.
Correct.
And Your Honor, I have nothing further at this time.
There's no question.
So just to clarify, was any of the property that you told the court had been damaged in this incident, was any of that damaged prior to the defendant coming into your house?
No.
Nothing.
Jason. Anyway, there's no witnesses for the people. No witnesses for the defense. Which one?
Just find over, Your Honor. With respect to count 1, the home invasion, second degree, that charge in this case is predicated upon a larceny having occurred within the residence. Your Honor, I would ask the court to consider in making the bind-over decision that there has to be some evidence from which the jury can infer that Mr. Doran, my client, Mr. Doran, intended to permanently deprive his father of the property in question.
When you say permanently deprived, but that doesn't have a timeline. I mean, if he's going to deprive him of property at any point, that can constitute the larceny.
I understand that the court reached a conclusion. I would ask
Well, but that's
to
the
consider,
law, isn't it?
Your Honor, I would ask the court to consider that the evidence, the testimony taken today established that Mr. Doran took things that belonged to him that were contained within safe, which was returned to the owner. That's what I would ask the court to consider in this bind-over decision. I would also ask the court to consider with respect to the home invasion section, that people's evidence that Mr. Doran did not have permission to enter that home, I think significant questions are raised when the evidence establishes that Mr. Doran has a key to the home, and that there are text messages asking his father to leave a key outside, presumably before this occurred. So I would ask the court to make the inference that if Mr. Doran had a key in his possession that was given to him.
This is the defense's core argument in one sentence. You can't steal what you reasonably believe you're allowed to take. They're attacking intent, the mental state, which is often the hardest part of a criminal case to prove.
That he believed that a reasonable person would believe he had permission to enter that home. What those text messages don't establish is that he
You're
did.
going to say that I'm to infer from all of this that he had permission to enter that home, hook up a chain to his truck, to something in that home and drag it out of that home, and that somehow he had permission to do that?
Your Honor, I think those text messages are discussing, and what the witness testified is that there are items in that home that belong to my client that he has not retrieved, that his father testified he wants him to retrieve, and that's our position on what was going on in that video and what happened, or in.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't need much.
Your Honor, that's a really sure why I know it was not
Your Honor, may I very briefly reply?
Yes.
Just to touch on count two. Count two is malicious destruction of personal property between $1,000 and $20,000. We did hear testimony regarding surveillance cameras and mirrors inside the home. I don't believe we heard any testimony with respect to a 2003 Saturn, as reflected in the people's information. So I would think that that not be considered in the final decision.
Well, I've listened to the testimony of Mr. Doran, and what is clear with reference to count one, to whether or not the defendant had permission to enter the home, the witness clearly has testified that he did not have permission, nor did the circumstances under which the court views the defendant in the home could lead the court to the conclusion that somehow he was there with the permission of the homeowner, his father. Further, it seemed to me that if he had permission, or if I found somehow to infer the request to leave a key is somehow, or that him having lived there, so kids may have at some point lived in their parents' home, as constituting a constant permission. Had he had permission, it would seem to me that he could have said, "Can I get into the house and remove these items in some way?" But that's not what occurred here. I don't think that could make a reasonable inference that that's what he was doing. He was forcibly trying to take items. Some of those items belonged to his father, namely the lock. When he's in the process, and I can take Mr. Doran's estimate of the value of the property that is destroyed, he's indicated that with mirrors, it's going to be around $1,500. He said in that sense it's going to be over $1,000. And that was the property that was destroyed. So they would specifically find that people have shown that he entered the premise, that the defendant did enter the premises, and that while present in there, did commit a larceny in terms of removing that box that contained the weapons and ammunition. I didn't know itself sufficient because it's just a larceny. And they, to the extent that the defense is arguing that there's a length of time the larceny is actually completed on the point at which he takes possession of without the owner's information. So, the people have shown with regard to the malicious personal property, clearly the testimony of Mr. Durant was that there were sentient cameras, mirrors, motorcycle parts, and other things that were destroyed or otherwise injured. And that the total amount of in excess of $1,000. So what would find people in the count two have sustained them. So for those reasons, we find that the people have sustained them by sending over state pile on count one and two with count three, this destruction of the building. No.
And here's the takeaway that matters most. At a preliminary hearing, the judge doesn't decide guilt. They decide plausibility. If the story holds together legally, the case moves forward. And that's exactly what happens here.